Album is #1 all over the world. All over the world, America's the only one because the FBI investigated Michael Jackson for over 12 years. They collected 600 pages of evidence and searched every corner of his life. But their most disturbing discovery wasn't in any official report. Deep beneath Neverland Ranch, they found a hidden basement that Jackson thought would never be discovered. What was inside explained everything about his final years of paranoia and fear. The truth about what they found could destroy his legacy forever. Michael Jackson was born on August 29, 1958, in a small two-bedroom home in Gary, Indiana. The house stood at 2300 Jackson Street, a strange coincidence that matched their last name. He was the 8th of 10 children. There wasn't much space, so the brothers often squeezed into one bed while others slept on the floor. The neighborhood was poor, and so was the family. Michael later remembered rats and roaches running across the kitchen when they turned on the lights. The house had cost $8,000. Life was harsh, but it brought the family close. That closeness came with pressure, too. Gary was racially segregated and struggling financially. It was a rough place for a child, especially one about to be pushed into greatness. Michael's father, Joseph Jackson, worked in the steel mills. He wanted something better for his children and saw music as the only way out. He didn't believe in soft encouragement. Rehearsals were brutal. Michael called them drilling. They could last for hours, and if a step was wrong, Joseph would wake them up at night to redo it. There were beatings, belts, cords. His father's methods worked, but the cost was deep. Michael later admitted he felt lonely most of his life. While Joseph kept them in line, Michael's mother gave him love and faith. She was a Jehovah's Witness and taught her children about right and wrong. Her belief system was strict, but she was gentle. Michael called her faith unbreakable. She stood between him and Joseph when things got too intense. She also gave him his first lessons in music, showing him how to sing in harmony and introducing him to gospel records. Michael said she shaped his values. Even when he became a global star, he would tone down lyrics or scenes in his videos to make sure they didn't upset her. She was the anchor that helped him survive. By age 6, Michael wasn't just performing. He was backstage at major shows, standing in the wings while stars like James Brown and Jackie Wilson lit up the stage. His father had arranged for the Jackson 5 to open for top acts on the Chitlin circuit. Michael would sneak close to the front, watching every move. He studied how they held the mic, how they danced, how they smiled. That was his real classroom. He wasn't playing with toys. He was learning how to be a star. That's why, by the time he was 10, he didn't just sing well. He moved like a professional. He controlled a stage like someone 3 times his age. Michael joined the Jackson 5 at just 5 years old. He started off playing percussion, but it didn't take long for everyone to notice his voice. Soon he became the lead. By 1968, Motown had signed them, and founder Berry Gordy took a special interest in Michael. He polished the group's image, but he knew Michael was the real star. Smokey Robinson once said Michael had a voice with emotion that didn't seem possible for a child. He sang like he had lived 100 lives. That kind of depth stunned older musicians and producers. But it also meant Michael missed out on being a normal kid. Their first major hit, I Want You Back, came out in October 1969. It was an instant success. Within 1 week, it outsold any Beatles single ever released. The song hit #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 by the end of January 1970. It sold over 2 million copies in just a few months. Record plants had to work non-stop to keep up. The Jackson 5's success was more than just numbers. It helped bring black music into homes that had never embraced it before. Some radio stations even said they started mixing playlists more because of the Jackson 5. It was a breakthrough moment when they appeared on shows like The Ed Sullivan Show and American Bandstand. It was more than just a performance. It was a shift in culture. White families across America saw 5 well-dressed talented black boys on their TV screens and fell in love with them. That had never really happened before. By 1971, Michael alone was getting over 10,000 fan letters a week, more than Elvis ever did at his peak. The Jackson 5 even had their own cartoon. They were everywhere, and Michael was at the center of it all. People started calling Michael a miniature James Brown. He didn't just dance like him, he sang with the same fire. At one Apollo Theater show, James Brown's own collaborator said Michael had everything James had and more. Berry Gordy said he was the best entertainer he'd ever seen. James Brown even brought Michael backstage and showed him the glide, a move that would later become Michael's famous moonwalk. At age 10, Michael had already developed a 3-octave vocal range. That's something even grown stars struggled to do. By the time Michael Jackson turned 21, he was already changing the world. On August 10, 1979, he released Off the Wall, a solo album that didn't just sound different. It felt like something entirely new. He had met producer Quincy Jones while filming The Wiz, and their creative bond turned into magic. The album mixed pop, soul, and disco in a way nobody had done before, and the world listened. Over 19 million people bought that album. He became the first solo artist to land 4 songs from one album in the top 10, but not everyone celebrated. Behind the scenes, cracks started to form within his family. The Jacksons had spent years performing together, but as Michael began to stand out, the group began to fall apart. Jermaine felt pushed aside. Even Tito and Marlon noticed the tension. Randy called it painful and inevitable. The media made things worse, always singling out Michael as the true star. When the group tried to revive their magic with Triumph in 1980, Michael was barely interested. His heart was somewhere else. He was dreaming bigger, and that dream would leave his brothers behind. Despite the wild success of Off the Wall, Michael didn't feel like the industry gave him the respect he had earned. He sold millions of albums, broke chart records, and still, when the Grammy Awards came around in 1980, he only took home one trophy, not even a nomination for Album of the Year. That hurt. He wrote about it later, saying he cried because he had worked so hard. That pain pushed him into a new phase. He became obsessed with the idea of doing better, of going bigger. That's when he started building Thriller. He studied how hit records were made. He wanted to be involved in every detail. He changed his appearance and his style, and in the studio, he became a perfectionist. When Thriller came out on November 30th, 1982, it broke all the records. Over time, it sold more than 67 million copies around the world. In the US alone, it sold 34 million, making it the best-selling album by a solo artist in American history. 7 songs from Thriller hit the top 10. No one had done that before. Billie Jean and Beat It both reached number 1. The album's global success earned it a place in the Guinness Book of World Records as the best-selling album ever. After Michael died in 2009, 4 million more copies sold that same year, and it hasn't stopped selling. Since 2022, another 740,000 vinyl copies have been bought. No artist has ever topped the world's charts in the way Michael did with Thriller. And then came the Thriller video. It wasn't just a video, it was a short film released on December 2, 1983. It was directed by John Landis, who had made An American Werewolf in London. The video was 14 minutes long and filled with horror scenes. Michael turned into a werecat, then a zombie, then a legend. The video cost $1 million, which was unheard of at the time. A behind-the-scenes documentary also came out, and it became the best-selling VHS tape ever released for a music project. The video doubled the album's sales. It also helped change MTV. Before Thriller, the network rarely showed videos by black artists. That changed. The video was later added to the U.S. National Film Registry. By 2024, it had passed 1 billion views on YouTube. Thriller had become more than an album. It was now a part of history. The Grammys proved that. On February 28, 1984, at the 26th Annual Grammy Awards, Michael was nominated for 12 awards and won 8. That set a new record. He won Album of the Year, Record of the Year, and Best Male Pop Vocal Performance for Thriller. But he didn't stop there. He also won Best R&B Vocal Performance, and Best R&B Song for Billie Jean, and Best Rock Vocal Performance for Beat It. He had taken over pop, R&B, and rock all in the same night. The Washington Post called it the Michael Jackson Show. The moment wasn't just impressive, it was historic. No other artist has won 8 Grammys in 1 year, and 7 of those were for the same album. It was the kind of sweep no one had ever seen before. On March 25, 1983, during the TV special Motown 25, Yesterday, Today, Forever, Michael performed Billie Jean live. At the end of the performance, he did something no one expected. He glided backward. It was the first time anyone had seen the moonwalk. About 50 million people watched on TV, and they couldn't believe what they saw. The dance move became world famous. Even Fred Astaire and Sammy Davis Jr. called him to praise. But even at the height of fame, tragedy struck. In late 1983, Michael signed a $5 million deal with Pepsi. At the time, it was the largest endorsement deal in history. On January 27, 1984, while filming a commercial at the Shrine Auditorium, everything went wrong. During a 6th take, fireworks went off too early. Michael's hair caught fire. He had 2nd and 3rd degree burns on his scalp. The crowd of 3,000 fans watched in horror. Witnesses said smoke came from his head. His brothers ran to help. He needed multiple surgeries and skin grafts, and the pain didn't go away. Michael later admitted this was when he started using painkillers, a habit that would follow him for years. Pepsi paid him $1.5 million, which he donated to the hospital. But the damage was done. When Michael Jackson dropped his album, Bad, in August 1987, everything exploded. Fans didn't just line up for the music, they chased the entire experience. The tour that followed became the biggest of the decade, pulling in $125 million. It stretched from September 1987 to January 1989 across 123 concerts in 15 countries. More than 4.4 million people showed up. Tokyo alone packed 135,000 fans a night for 3 sold-out shows. Those numbers landed Jackson in the Guinness World Records twice. The album Bad itself was a record breaker, becoming the first to score 5 #1 hits on the US Billboard Hot 100. By the end, it had sold over 35 million copies around the world. Even though it stood in the shadow of Thriller, Bad set its own standard for what a pop star could be. 2 years earlier, in 1985, Michael co-wrote a song with Lionel Richie. It wasn't just any song. We Are the World brought together more than 40 music legends. Everyone from Bruce Springsteen to Stevie Wonder stood behind Quincy Jones and sang in secret. When the song came out on March 7th, it became the fastest-selling single in American history. It moved more than 20 million physical copies and raised over $63 million for African famine relief. Adjusted for inflation, that's almost $229 million today. But this wasn't just about the money. It changed how celebrities approached charity, inspiring years of benefit projects around the world. For Jackson, it wasn't just about singing. It was about doing. By the late 1980s, Jackson's appearance started to change. His skin became lighter, and tabloids went wild. They said he was bleaching his skin or trying to erase his black identity. But the truth was harder to explain and even harder for people to accept. Jackson had vitiligo, an autoimmune condition that destroys skin pigment. It also made him highly sensitive to sunlight. For a long time, he didn't talk about it. That silence gave tabloids room to invent their own stories. When he finally admitted it, many didn't believe him. In March 1988, Michael made a purchase that would come to define both his dreams and his downfall. He bought nearly 2,700 acres in Santa Barbara County and poured in another $35 million to create Neverland. It had a full amusement park, a zoo with giraffes and chimpanzees, and a movie theater with 50 seats. The goal wasn't just fun, it was to build the childhood he said he never had. Growing up as a child star meant pressure, rehearsals, and no room for being a kid. Neverland became his escape from that, but it was far from the world for a reason. He built it in isolation, surrounded by quiet hills and high fences. After his death in 2009, the property changed hands and was listed for up to $100 million. Debates still continue about what to do with it. Michael's friendships were often strange to outsiders, but some were deeply human. His connection with Elizabeth Taylor lasted decades. They both knew what it felt like to grow up famous. They both knew how lonely it could be. Taylor stood by him through scandal, hospital visits, and headlines. She called him generous and honest, and often defended him when few others would. Jackson once said their relationship couldn't be explained by any one label. They weren't lovers, but they were more than friends. She was comfort for him at parties, especially when anxiety made it hard to breathe. In the world they lived in, that kind of trust was rare. That in 1993, Jackson did something he had never done before. He opened up to the world on live television. Oprah Winfrey interviewed him at Neverland, and more than 62 million Americans watched. Around the world, the number was over 90 million. Jackson used the moment to speak about the stories that had followed him for years. He said he didn't buy the Elephant Man's bones. He didn't sleep in a hyperbaric chamber. He confirmed that he had vitiligo and explained how the condition worked. He admitted to having one nose surgery and said he didn't like his own reflection. But what shook viewers most was what he said about his childhood. He described fear and beatings from his father, painting a picture of pain behind the fame. Elizabeth Taylor even joined the interview to show her support, calling him the least weird man she had ever known. In August 1993, Michael Jackson's world changed forever. The Los Angeles police began a criminal investigation after a 13-year-old boy named Jordan Chandler accused him of abuse. The case quickly became worldwide news. Police searched Michael's home at Neverland Ranch. They didn't stop there. They also searched his other properties and even made Michael go through a full-body exam to compare markings. He later said it was the most humiliating moment of his life. It left him emotionally broken. The police also interviewed 30 children who had visited Neverland, but none of them confirmed the story. Still, the media wouldn't stop. Every detail, true or false, became a headline. From that moment, the accusation stayed with Michael for the rest of his life. Even though there was no solid proof and no criminal charges were ever filed, the damage had already been done. In January 1994, Michael's lawyers agreed to settle the civil lawsuit with the Chandler family. The exact amount was $1,533,000 and $150. The deal included a trust fund for Jordan and separate payments of $1.5 million to each parent, plus millions more in legal fees. In total, the settlement reached around $23 million. Michael's team said it wasn't an admission of guilt. He just wanted to stop the emotional pain and avoid dragging it out in court. But the public didn't see it that way. People kept asking why he would pay so much if he was innocent. Later, prosecutors said the case fell apart after the family stopped cooperating. That meant they had no main witness. Even so, the questions and doubts never went away. After the case, Michael tried to continue his dangerous world tour, but the pressure was too much. He turned to prescription painkillers to cope with the stress. In November 1993, he canceled the rest of the tour. He admitted that he had become dependent on the drugs during the investigation. One of his doctors, Dr. Stoyart Finkelstein, gave him morphine through an IV in his hotel suite. He noticed Michael had a high tolerance already. That was a clear sign things were getting serious. Michael then traveled to Europe to get treatment. His friends and doctors pushed him to go, knowing that he couldn't handle it on his own anymore. Fans in the music world watched in shock as the biggest star on the planet struggled in silence. Before the scandal, Michael Jackson was one of the most valuable celebrities in the world. But almost overnight, everything changed. Companies that had partnered with him for years backed away. Pepsi, which had worked with Michael for more than 10 years, ended their deal. His face disappeared from TV ads. He missed concerts and important events across Asia and Latin America. The Dangerous Tour had once been expected to break records, but now it was falling apart. His finances took a hit. Even his charity, Heal the World Foundation, suffered. It became clear that even someone as big as Michael Jackson wasn't safe from losing it all once the public turned against him. At his lowest point, help came from a close friend, Elizabeth Taylor. She knew what addiction felt like. She had battled it herself and didn't want Michael to face it alone. She convinced him to leave the spotlight and go to Europe for help. She arranged his treatment and used her own experience to guide him through it. When she spoke at her AIDS clinic later, she talked about how painful and degrading the whole thing had been for Michael. She wanted people to understand what he was going through and how the pressure had almost destroyed him. Without her, he might not have made it out of that dark time. Not long after the scandal, Michael shocked the world again. On May 26, 1994, he married Lisa Marie Presley.